Never in the history of the world have the merchants of obscenity had available to them the modern facilities for disseminating this filth. Disseminating this filth. The onslaught of the communist masters of deceit.
Pinko, Commie, Slutz. Pinko, Commie, Slutz. Pinko, Commie, Slutz. Pinko, Commie, Slutz.
Hello, Marlowe. How's it going?
Pretty good. Got really into The Americans. I fucking love that show right now.
Oh, yeah? I never watched it, but...
Okay, I know me and Steve have discussed it before, but have you ever seen the show Turn, the story of Washington spies?
Yes, here and there, because I put in for a lot of casting calls.
Oh, right.
And I never made it.
Yeah, because they mostly filmed in... I don't know. It's like that, except like communist in the 80s and like...
Nice. It's set in the 80s.
Yeah, and it has actual likable characters, which I think is a huge innovation for television. But it's like similarly like goofy and stupid. There's like this one episode early on where, it's these spies, Russian like deep cover agents working in America and kind of posing as a married couple, but also living as a married couple, and they have kids and shit. And there's one episode where they're trying to like work on each other, like work on their marriage and shit. And then Reagan gets shot, and now they have to figure out whether or not the KGB did it and deal with the fallout. It's great.
Hey.
Yeah,
Hey.
Great show. Bonnie, may I just say that you are smart, clever, and brilliant?
Thank you. I'm not against this. Infantilize me all you want by fawning about my fucking brilliance.
Yeah, the problem
Frankly,
is that
I'm
joke's
the type of
already
person-
old, and by the time this like goes up,
I know.
no one's going to remember.
Wait, what? I don't
Yeah,
even remember.
there's this like dumbass woke Twitter take from a couple of days ago that...
Oh, yeah, like, don't specifically point out that a woman is clever or things like this. Kind of...
Don't call a woman smart, clever, or brilliant because it's like infantilizing or some shit.
But it's kind of trying to, like, I think, co-opt the conversation around, like, calling a black person articulate.
Yeah, it's definitely
And-
trying to do that.
Like, shut the fuck up. Tell me I'm fucking beautiful and brilliant all you want.
I
Frankly,
will,
I'm the type
because
of
you are.
person... Thank you. But I am the type of woman that, frankly, inspires people to feel like I gotta cut this bitch down a notch or two. So I am appreciative.
Which is what women want.
yeah, to be put in our place.
To be cut down, put in their place. That's
Talked over, I find. They love it. They absolutely love when you...
That's the feminist course.
Marlowe, this is time out. We've discovered that this is actually
It was
collaborative overlapping.
Yeah,
Or,
I think that was it. Anyway, point is, whenever I interrupt Bonnie, that's part of my Jewish culture, so you can't get angry at me for it.
And I just
or else you're being anti-Semitic.
And every time that I'm stubborn, it's part of my German heritage. I mean...
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Germans have no hair.
We don't have hair.
That's part of the reparation for World War II.
Yeah.
Is that Germans gave up any right to a heritage.
Yeah, no.
And that went really well for them.
Yeah, no. Beware of Greeks who offer gifts and beware of Germans who talk about their culture. That's what I say. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Bobby Shmurda is free and home, which is great. I've celebrated by listening to his song Hot N-Word. No, nothing else has happened.
Actually, I thought there was gonna be nothing to talk about, and then the last 3 days happened.
What's happened?
Bomb, 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 Iran.
Right.
Bomb, bomb. Do you not pay... Like, you have a television with the news on. I know
I have
you do.
Twitter, which is better than television, and yes.
You thought we were just...
You
missed all the jokes about, like...
Do you have amnesia about the last 3 days?
Biden gonna go around bomb Iran before we get our money.
Oh, yeah. Syria and all that. Yeah.
Or is this part of your Jewish heritage
Yeah, it
to
is
forget?
Syria.
Yeah, no, I mean, whatever. It doesn't affect me directly, so I don't give a shit. Yeah, no, the imperialism happened. That's bad.
I'm still provoking a few liberals out here by simply lightheartedly joking about when is it okay to criticize Joe Biden. It fucking sucks because in reality, I would prefer for all of these dumbasses to be able to be like, see, he did this thing in your face. I want something good to happen. I can't even celebrate. How correct?
It has been funny watching the response. I think it's more interesting the disillusionment, like what you're going through, Bunny, to watch other people's disillusionment.
Fifth disillusionment, though. Like, this is, I guess I'm discovering that there is a small part of me that, like, does want this bullshit to be true. I do want it to be like, oh, it just, gee, gum golly, it just took a long time of all this hard bipartisan negotiating work and la-di-da-da. Like, some irrational part of me, I guess the part of me that wants things not to, you know, suck, is just like desperate. Where even in my biting criticism of Joe Biden, where I say things like, LOL, where's my money, Joe? This is what a lot of people are experiencing, where it's like very lighthearted sort of relative mockery of Joe Biden is being, you know, predictably, not now, you know, if not now, when?
Yeah.
Was this Jokerification Part 3? 4?
Yeah, this is...
It seems to have come in like waves because for some reason people thought he was going to push for $15 minimum wage.
For some reason, the reason is he said he was.
Yeah, he did literally say that. So
for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why he said that. I would have just not said it.
I know. Well, I think this is the crux of it, is that I'm in a place where, you know, I know people agree with this idea that the establishment Democrats or what have you are frankly not interested in any of these things for real. They're interested in telegraphing like they're going to do it, to like have those couple of headlines come out. But ultimately, they don't really want to do it. And what sucks is that a $15 minimum wage itself is insufficient at this point. You know, this is a like over 10-year-old idea. And it just sucks to be told over and over again that like, oh, you're just armchair complaining or armchair quarterbacking or whatever. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like these narratives that anybody who's criticizing Biden from the left is this sort of like shitty bon vivant who's like doing this on a lark just to be a provocateur and doesn't want to like, you know, get their hands dirty doing the hard work of what, like changing your frame on Facebook when it's an election time, or like this is and I just talked about this last year with a lot of people that I volunteered with for Bernie, where it's really annoying to have this thing over and over again where it's like, oh, you guys just behind your keyboards. And in reality,
the best is they consistently just act like it's a performative bit for people to like care about anything.
I got called
performative for real.
I got called performative multiple times on your wall, Bunny.
Yeah, no, the idea of having empathy for another human being is so foreign to these people, they would lock it in an overflow facility. But
yeah, that's very ironic coming from you.
Yeah, it's so skeevy, though,
what's ironic coming from me?
The idea of being empathetic.
Oh, yeah, no, I love other people. It drives all of my politics. It's like my singular value that I hold most dear.
Yeah, you're like the least empathetic person I know.
That's nonsense. Love people.
Being mean is funny. I do very much dislike, though, being told that I don't have any skin in the game, and then if I present evidence of a personal thing, it's dismissed, and like it's the disingenuousness of it, where people that, you know, it's not just like random strangers on the internet that say things like this. This is people I supposedly, you know, knew way back when and whatever, like accusing me of, and it's very bizarre because it's not as if I'm out here like taking up so much space that it's like, oh my gosh, you and your opinions, why don't you do something worthwhile? Like I say something lightly critical and it's like, what have you done? And I don't understand this. I don't understand. What is the logical conclusion of the what have you done thing? Because what if I go in that moment, oh, gee willikers, you're right. Tell me what to do. Like they would have fucking nothing to tell me.
And I mean, all three of us here have actually volunteered, and you know, it's not like we're dedicating our lives to something, but we've all done some shit, which is more than most people have done.
Well, and you know, like we're not averse to calling a representative, calling a fucking business, what have you. It makes me feel like I'm taking crazy pills because then it makes me want to go pause. Do you not know that just calling something is not a backbreak? What are you talking about? And then you realize that these people are elevating these like few instances in their own lives or possibly careers where they're like mishmashing things they've done in a professional
None of
setting.
these people have done anything. None of these people have done shit.
It's just so bizarre to me how all of these things can happen over the course of these past fucking 18 months, and there's so little humility. Also coming at me, you're not doing anything. I'm like, we're still in the fucking pandemic, dude. What the fuck are you talking about?
Don't even entertain them.
What am I supposed to be?
It reminds me
well, exactly. I'm just saying, if I were to entertain them, there's no answers there. It's just a bizarre punishment.
And this is my problem, is they don't know what performative means, because their expectations of what is to be done is a performance. Like, it's a performance of being a good citizen. It's a performance of being a Democrat or a good Democrat. It's all just a fucking performance. And it doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter what they've done. Their expectations are completely performative and based on this performative, in a very literal sense, a performance of how they think of themselves as a good person in relation to politics. Yeah. And there is nothing about their actions or expectations that rise above what they themselves consider performative. What they mean is idealistic, or what they think they mean is idealistic, naive, non-pragmatic beliefs in certain subjects that may not fall within the possibilities of what they consider to be parliamentarian politics. For instance, not bombing Syria because, you know, the Iranian people are the truly democratic country that we should defend and not the Americans. Or $15 minimum wage, or any other overflow facilities, or health care, which is what I got into the fight about. That my belief that we should have an American National Health Service is a performative thing that, you know, only works in this cloud, you know, pie in the sky. Pie in the sky.
Living.
You don't know. You clearly don't know how to work the mechanisms of politics. And it's like, no, I just think things and you think things, and you have a small brain and I have a big brain, and I don't care what you think of my opinions. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of the Russell Brand quote, actually, where he says, when I was poor and talked about income inequality, they told me I was just jealous. When I was rich and talked about income inequality, they called me a hypocrite. It's almost like they just don't want me to talk about income inequality. So, it does not matter. It's a cynical fucking rhetorical
the pressure on people to lie about their own experiences, to like serve this greater narrative and to call that like a patriotism or something. It's just like, fucking dude, it sucks. I think also it sucks for me personally because a lot of these people doing this to me in my personal life are people which I had shared my times in the past, volunteering for Obama and etc. Like, I really thought all these things were gonna change.
Treat your friends like Louis C.K. treated Jix.
It's frustrating because what it also reveals is like people's willingness to be completely disingenuous and bad faith and fucking condescending and rude to me. Like I've been so vile that they're totally justified in like not even trying very hard to pretend to make some kind of overture. It's just like another cool police thing, you know? It's like a childish, I've got this list of things that I say about what I'm told is the quote unquote left, and I'm going to say it. Why don't you criticize the GOP more? I'm like, what purpose would it serve for me to get banned to say I'd like to stick them like pigs? You know what I mean? I've got nothing critical to say of the GOP because I don't.
I mean, because you're a white nationalist.
Yeah, don't isolate that bit. Like, I don't have criticism for people who are completely disinterested in my humanity from where I'm sitting, you know? I do have more criticism for the people who pretend to give a shit. That just makes sense.
I mean, what they can't reckon with is that Donald Trump is going to be viewed as the most peaceful American president of any of their lifetimes, and that he will have done more to bring about peace in worldwide conflicts than any of their favorite candidates, and that they're the warmongers for opposing him.
Yeah, it sucks. I don't fucking know. I haven't said something problematic in a bit. Let's talk about Meghan McCain's hair. What up with that, babe?
Well, first of all, what is going on there? What sucks about it is I think all of these hairstyles would look very good on me. But I'm a child. I have a really...
Are you talking about the glitter down the center of her hair?
They were like rhinestones.
No, it's been like 3 weeks of wild style choices. Lots of space buns, high ponytails, to a point of ridiculousness. Yes, but a very glittery middle part is included in this. Some donutty top knots. I joked that it looks like her stylist got a hold of my 8th grade lookbook based on Sailor Moon characters. It makes her look ridiculous, but I would look amazing in all of them. I've just got a face for anime hairstyles, personally.
No.
I don't know. I don't know what she's saying these days.
Yeah, I haven't watched her.
She's probably just projecting pictures of herself sucking Joe Biden's cock in the background of every View.
Well, I'll get myself canceled and say that I think Meghan McCain can be attractive. I'll stick with that. Her and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm tired of living a lie.
Oh, God, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I want to fucking kick her right in her fucking throat. Like,
I actually fantasize about the two of them.
Oh, yeah, no, same.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a whole mesh of fake blonde hair.
You want to bone Meghan
that's
McCain.
My new problematic position.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just like all these people in my life personally, I'm like, I've moved on, guys. Get with it. I'm fucking poor. I refuse to pretend I'm only suffering via my own failures, you know? Because that's the fucking pressure. And that's also the pressure of being like a working person who's dilly-dallied quite a bit with your professional managerial class of people. Like for myself, having gone to a prep school, I have a lot of old classmates who believe that, what are you talking about, Bunny? You can just go to grad school. Just, you know, when bing, bang, boom. Why don't you just do this? As if I was like, I don't give a shit, guys. I'm just gonna fucking rock and roll and not do anything hard or responsible. Like, this is how these people see me. Like, I'm some sort of like wild child when I'm actually, given my resources over the years. I'm actually quite responsible relative to things. So it's very frustrating. I think because it's not just about the politics. It's like this thing where you're supposed to pretend you're not experiencing these things in your life, right? Like I was very supportive of Obamacare, of ACA, right? And then practically what happened was I was being asked to pay hundreds of dollars every month for care I couldn't obtain or else. Like that's what functionally happened, even though, give me the two sides. Back in the day, I'm totally for it. I'm supposed to lie about my experience there to maintain a sort of rah-rah, go Dems. It's so boring. But when they ask me, like, do you have any solutions? I don't. I just don't want to be like, set things on fire. Things only, everyone. No people. A manageable fire. See, I'm responsible.
I'm excited for tomorrow. I know this will come out after tomorrow, but I'm excited for Donald Trump's glorious return.
What's happening tomorrow?
He's giving a speech at CPAC.
Right.
And CPAC has just been off the chain for the last 2 days. I haven't watched any of it, but the few reports that I've heard trickled in, like Holocaust deniers giving speeches, awesome, A+.
Kara Gafoyle. She's just like dancing.
The lady Benito.
Yeah, she's just dancing like she didn't write a speech, just trying to like buy herself time. That's what it felt like.
But no, he's coming back and I'm here for it. I don't know if you're ready for Trump 2.0, but this will be like his Napoleon. This will be like his pre-Waterloo.
Well, no, it'd be the 100 days is what.
The 100 days,
yeah. Waterloo. Yeah, no, it'll be like when Hillary Clinton got out of the woods in upstate New York and read that book.
Yeah. Any predictions on what he's going to say? Because it doesn't matter. This will come out afterwards. I think it'll be funny. Well, he's obviously still won the 2020 election. Mm-hmm. I think we can all safely bet that. Does he announce that he's running for president? I think that's the plays everybody is expecting.
Yeah, maybe. I just know that the stage looks like a Thulian rune, and then that led me to look up Thule, and then I got down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a little too on the nose in terms of making the Republican Party the National Front of America, which would be a good rebranding. I'm just saying.
Yeah, possibly. It's worked for them.
Have they had Le Pen come in and give a speech yet?
No, I mean...
You think they'd have Le Pen come in and make a speech at CSPAC?
Why wouldn't they? They had Bolsonaro's son.
Really?
Yeah, but like having a hand in shit is not the same as some French fucking bitch.
Yeah, but like that's... I mean, who's really running the CPAC?
They're too simplistic. This is what's frustrating is that, like, it's not sophisticated. It's like, if you had anyone looking at these people neutrally, they're very predictable in their things. And I think they're still, they wouldn't have Le Pen. She's French, period. They just stick to actual buddies. They maybe tried to help with coups and Americans.
I think if I were the Republican Party, I would start bonding with far-right national parties from Europe as like a global initiative for far-right.
Well, that's what Steve Bannon was trying to do. I mean, like quite demonstratively, like he did that. He went and met with many prominent white nationalist or far-right ethno.
Yeah, and linked up with the Falun Gong too.
Oh yeah, he's like,
how about that communist China?
Show me fascist Tachi. Or what do you pronounce it weird? What do you mean? Tachi. China. I don't know.
The House passed the $1.9 trillion thing last night. Mm-hmm. That's boring.
Right. Oh, well, and everybody this week learned about the parliamentarian, which is what the $15 minimum wage, like not being included is essentially being blamed on this person who could be ignored. She's just kind of like a fucking nerd who's there to be like, actually, about procedural stuff, right? More or less. She's supposed to be bipartisan, et cetera, so forth. I think in 2001, the Republicans just replaced that person because they were like, you can't do this. And they were like, get the fuck out of here. But because the Democrats are fucking inverted nipples of scrubs, the anti-bullies, they can't do anything like that. So they're like, oh, gee whiz, the thing we didn't ever want to do, definitely, we can't do it. It sucks. Because really we need $25 an hour. Should be the push.
Easily. And Kamala could easily just force it through. And she won't do it, even though she campaigned on it. That's a good thing. I'm here for that. I'm here because I think any and all of this is just disillusionment time, which doesn't necessarily go to the GOP. But, I think it's a raising consciousness of the impotence of the Democratic Party.
We're all accelerationists now.
Yeah, let's...
I don't know. Call capitalism schizophrenic and do a lot of...
Have you been reading Deleuze?
No. Never read Deleuze. I might read Deleuze at some point, but...
I want to get into an accelerationist tangent in my reading series.
Yeah, let's just all read Fang Numina. That'll be fun.
Machinic Desire.
Yeah, Neo-China.
How is China doing? Are we at war with them yet? Are we going to be at war with them?
Are we? Is there a reason? What's happening in China? Wait, actually, literally, what's happening anywhere? I have no idea where I am or what's going on.
I know. Oh, god damn it! There's a third vaccine.
Yeah, the Johnson and
Johnson. It's one dose,
baby.
Dose.
It's like a LSD tab right there.
I wish.
Did anyone else forget that Johnson & Johnson has a hardcore pharmaceutical department? Because I did. I thought they mostly made baby food and toothbrushes or something. I don't know.
No, they're one of the hugest.
Yeah, apparently
pharmaceutical companies in the world.
They always call themselves a family company. I thought they made families.
Well, and that's why that movie, the Johnson & Johnson Air made in the early 2000s, has been scrubbed from all existence because it was an inside scoop on how rich people really be. It was great. It was a great movie, and these people freaked the fuck out.
If they added another one, I'd feel like they were a lawyer's firm. Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, I thought they just kind of made Band-Aids and shit. Oh, well.
They've got a bazillion subsidiaries. They make Neutrogena. They make fucking the baby stuff. They make a bunch of Band-Aids and first aid whatever. And I guess, pharmaceuticals. I hope one of the vaccines does something cool to people.
Grow a third arm. And then people would be defending the third arm people. That would be the new identity marker.
I hope it causes mild allergic reactions in some individuals.
I'm imagining a third arm porn. A whole...
I'm imagining full telepathy abilities. Suddenly, everybody who's gotten the Johnson & Johnson shot, they could do a little telepathy. And then gets real
but
confusing for a minute.
How much telepathy? Is it Stephen King telepathy?
Useful, functional.
Stephen King has a specific type of telepathy. What was Dreamcatcher? Dreamcatcher telepathy?
Yeah.
Shining telepathy, also known as Shining?
No. Yeah, not the shine. I'd say a very functional, practical intuition. A very suddenly it becomes viscerally.
So it's
obvious.
After you did an hour of yoga and you just became more aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it would be like a superpower, but it would feel mundane in the people experiencing it, right? It would be an elevated communication with your mind, but the people who've gotten the shot, who've gotten the superpower, it'll feel very whatever to them at first. It'll take people a minute to realize they've grown.
Wait, so will they think?
Because they'll just know when
they're.
people.
Wait, sorry.
Okay, I definitely am realizing as I talk about this, I've thought way too much about telepathy. A disproportionate amount. Because I think in like fiction and in movies, when there's telepathy, it's like you hear another person's fully formed sentences and things like that, because obviously for a narrative structure, you would need that. But in reality, when you're thinking, it's not like that. It's not like your brain's a little typewriter writing out a thought. So if you were to gain an actual telepathic ability, it would feel like somebody's lying. It would feel repulsive in a way. It wouldn't be like blah, blah, blah. It wouldn't be like what women want or whatever, where Mel Gibson can hear what bitches are saying in their minds.
So this Johnson & Johnson gives you a vaccine. And then what happens when you're in the same room as, I don't know, your dog? Will it work on animals?
Your vibes are just like fucking improved.
What does that mean? I don't know.
So
what that
you
means.
know, the same way you would be like, it's cold in here. You would have like a sort of intangible, visceral feeling that you wouldn't have had before about what the dog wants.
Okay, so you take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and you're like, I got this headache, but, you know, I'm relatively okay. I walk into room with your dog, Zeus, and I'm like, oh, shit, man, I feel like Zeus is hungry. Is that more of what you're talking about? Like this intuition that you just know that Zeus is hungry?
Yeah. And not like you're gonna, you know, make a bet with a loan shark about it. But, you know, you're just like, you just have a hunch. It's the experience of what someone would say having a hunch, but them all paying off, right? And not just, you know, something that you're retroactively applying. This is how telepathy would have to work?
Yeah, this is.
I don't know. I've also.
Way too.
What do you think telepathy would be like, Marlowe?
Probably like what the Andalites do in Animorphs. Yeah, you just talk, but without moving your mouth, and people can hear you in their brains. It's all telepathy is.
I want to imagine that it is just reading the text of their mind. What you were saying before, Bunny, but doing it in the same way that you read a book, where you like can't understand half of it because most people can't understand whatever they read, but also misreading and interpreting things based on various clues that you get from being around somebody.
This all sounds like a fucking Wittgenstein shit.
Well, this did come up in Zizek's book on Elon Musk and the brainwave. Wasn't it that Elon Musk wants to power things through brainwaves?
Yeah, he's been talking about brain chips for a while.
Brain chips. And Zizek's problem with that is the way the mind works isn't an exact science.
Well, yeah.
There is a self.
Because
apart from the self, which is filtered through a number of like processes that we must go in order to tell our body in order to do something.
Well, and we have obviously a limited understanding of those things, but the research that makes the headlines and, you know, gets funding is the flashy kind of research that implies crazy
just
shit.
had a breakthrough. Brain chips don't work because of some confusing Lacan shit.
But it's the same way people treat the idea of like DNA testing as if it's this infallible source of information, when really, yes, it's science. Like every time I see somebody post about like, oh, the Catholic Church says like this thing is a relic of, you know, it's Mary Magdalene's skull, and they won't let them DNA test it. And like the best you could do is like carbon dating and see like, okay, how old is it really? But you're not going to be able to tell what this bitch looked like any of this other nonsense that people project onto the idea of DNA testing, forensics, because it also is the CSIing of the imagination. And
from the Catholic Church's standpoint, it's like they let people carbon test the Shroud of Turin, and that ended up being bullshit. So they're not doing that again. Why would they do that? That's stupid.
Yeah, but what would be cool is if some sort of nefarious rogue went and like scraped a little bit of that skull off secret, like to test somehow break that glass. They keep all these skeleton parts in glass. Yes, that is what they're called.
Does the Orthodox Church have relics, or does God not love them?
Oh, I believe I've spoken of this before, but we do hardcore relics. I myself have been to the tomb of Saint Dionysius. I have kissed his lightly clothed corpse feet on the island of Zakynthos. He's a relatively recent saint, so it's not this like grandiose like time of Christ implication like it is with a relic that's supposedly Mary Magdalene's.
Do you guys have pieces of the true cross, or did they all go?
Of course. Hello. What do you think Constantine's mother Helen did? She magically found where the true cross was buried. That's very important Orthodox lore, as many Orthodox churches are indeed Saint Constantine and Helen, mother and son, together, saints. And of course, Constantine being the emperor who Christianized, because he had a vision, he said. And then his mom magically, like I said, found where the true cross was buried. But yeah, so the more recent relics, which are incredibly well preserved, that's part of the miracle, is that St. Dionysius's corpse is miraculously well preserved without any intervention. But also his feet are sticking out of the tomb, and he's got these slippers on, and the legend is essentially his spirit gets up and walks around and like helps people who are lost, and like he walks on the beach, and then the slippers wear out on the corpse, right? So they've got to keep replacing them. So they sell pieces of the worn out slippers. I got a piece in my jewelry box, if you guys are interested. But we don't cover our corpses. It's a straight up corpse. We see the whole thing. A lot of the Catholic relics are covered in wax, or they're gussied up in some fashion. There's a lot of just pieces. There's like a finger bone, etc. I think I also saw the relics of Saint Andrew when I was in Greece. Some piece of an upside down cross. I don't know. It's all pretty metal and super cool. And I fucking love skeletons. This is a canonical truth about me. If I've got the opportunity to be in the same room as a skeleton, I'll do it. I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about skeletons.
I like skeletons. I like ghosts more than I like skeletons. Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm a ghost head too, but I don't think I really discovered this about myself until I visited Rome, and I went to see quite a few. You know, you go to see a ton of art. A ton of this art is in churches. In the churches, there's also relics. And I found myself so psyched when some church I went to see some famous sculpture or painting was also where some holy person's wax-covered skeleton was kept in a glass coffin. Love it. Also, there's a really cool thing in Rome called the Capuchin Crypt. It's just a bunch of bones all decorating the inside of this crypt. But that's just because I'm just like a lazy goth person at heart. Like, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I do love skeletons. And bats. Oh my gosh. I really want... There's a thing in Greece where it's lucky to have a little bat skeleton, and I want one so bad.
Specific.
I've been like trolling these little bat skeletons that are in these glass like cases forever. It's not like I have a nice, beautiful wooden desk that I work at that I would put this like weird thing. One day, I'm gonna have me a bat bones. I don't know, but do Protestants have...
No, because they don't worship idols.
Is there...
We can't have nice things.
Yeah, they have...
You guys don't
have
as much
a relic.
magic.
It's called a personal relationship with Jesus.
Also, we have just our own sense of...
Not being pagan.
Yeah, lack of fulfillment, I think. Just our own suffering to meditate on.
Following the 10 Commandments... Unlike some religions who decided to just continue to worship dead statues.
And skeletons.
And like gods that don't even have a third dimension.
Marlowe, did you send Bunny that lecture about Jesus?
Oh, well, no, I mean, I did mention it to her. Well, I didn't mention that specific one, but that dude's like whole series. I really like the guy, and I think you would too, Bunny.
I'm always down to hear about Jesus.
Especially
if I can imply that he never existed.
Which he did, and it's like one of your worst takes that you hold. But it's
why would he have to actually have existed?
Counterpoint, why does he not?
If you also think,
why must he not exist? Like it just kind of Occam's razor. There was probably a guy named Jesus at some point.
So, was there a guy named Heracles?
Hercules wasn't.
Was there a fucking guy like
specific? There was a specific moment in first century Jerusalem where a bunch of people were pretty sure this guy lived 30 years ago, and many of those people were old enough to say that they met him. I don't know. It
seems like a large conspiracy.
It's a pretty wild set of.
But I'm saying there's all kinds of belief systems that are centered around a figure that isn't necessarily treated as if it's got this historicity. And I don't think it's fair to mix it up with other figures that we know for sure fucking existed. And there's several figures we know for sure fucking existed at the time.
Right, but
Jesus supposedly
we have
living.
About as much evidence as you'd expect for some random Palestinian peasant.
Yeah, I mean, it's cute to random Palestinian, but yeah, whatever. The idea that he for real existed in this very limited.
I'm just saying he probably did. Like, all things being equal, there probably was, I don't know, or everyone in 60 AD decided on the same thing at the same time.
Wait, am I the only atheist on this podcast?
I'm effectively
You're not
an atheist.
No, you're not. You've maintained agnosticism since you argued with a bunch of fuckheads when we were 18.
Right, but it literally doesn't affect my life at all, so...
That is not the question of agnosticism either.
It could be, I mean...
See, that is...
Right, exactly.
The position of agnosticism.
Right, yeah, no.
Which is different than atheism.
100%. I sort of live as if I don't have a faith.
Bunny?
I mean, for me, I am really...
I mean, you're culturally...
I am really comfortable with the fact that I don't literally believe.
You have a religion in the old sense of the term, where it's an ethnic identifier, and that's what it should be.
Yeah, I also benefit from not having a total monocultural background where my mom's side of the family fucking cuckoo Canadians who grew up Irish Catholic, and my mom's an atheist, but my uncles are very new agey, pagan, etc. So even when I've dabbled with all this witch shit, I never had the thing where some people are ooh, witch shit is going to solve all the problems I had, because it was just another thing that people could believe to me.
So you're saying you're a pagan.
But I also am...
Well, yeah, Greek Orthodox.
Yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I only maintain the sacraments of the Greek Orthodox Church if I need to be in someone's wedding or baptize a child.
How religion ought to be, and the whole Protestant notion that you need to think things about the universe defines your religion is horseshit.
Well, and I'm somebody who's really interested in tying in, extant rituals that I did in the Greek Orthodox Church with stuff I've learned about the ancient world, and how there are these connections that are sort of not really focused on because of how Christianity is, and how there is an interest in sort of pretending there's this hard break in Greek culture, I guess. So, but I'm also one of these shithead people who, I'll do hallucinogens, and I think about
we're all religious
universe
on hallucinogens, Bunny.
So, what I'm just saying, I'm very interested in stupid existential questions. This is something I think about for fun.
Kind of do that. I don't know. I went to law school with several atheist Muslims. Like, that's 100% a thing that's real. And that's really where I'm saying I'm effectively atheist, is I don't actually view my thinking about stuff to be dispositive of a religious identifier. I think that the way I live my life, I'm willing to admit is sort of atheist.
The way I think about it as well is that I've gotten a lot of personal value out of reading the works of certain atheists and etc. Even the fucking shitheads. Like, there's a ton of things that Christopher Hitchens wrote that really resonated with me that I found fascinating. He was a fucking obnoxious history nerd as well, and I always enjoy those things that he wrote about. And his atheism, even though he was a very smarmy kind of person and divorced from his later like descent into crazy neoliberalism or whatever, his atheism, his humanism was always...
It doesn't.
Yeah, I guess he was a neocon, right? He was one of the first. He does it just.
There's
like
three people in the universe who can cogently describe the difference between neoliberalism and neoconservatism, and they're all full of shit. So
I was always struck by the things he wrote, often betrayed that he, like Marlowe, did care a lot about people in certain ways. And a lot of his criticism of religion, of certain things, was very founded in exposing the harm that some figure or some belief system had done to actual fucking people.
Because you just reminded me Christopher Hitchens exists. And I'm absolutely not an atheist.
I know. That's what I've been saying.
No, my entire religious identity is driven by nothing if not an enduring hatred of Christopher Hitchens.
Well, okay.
You hate Hitchens more than you hate Dawkins?
Dawkins at least contributed things to evolutionary biology and the word meme.
But
Marlowe's agnosticism is a complete reaction to new atheism.
Yeah.
And that has been true since we went to college together. He despised the new atheists and therefore was like, nah, I'm not going to side with your signifier. But what you do bring up about Christopher Hitchens is interesting in regards to what the video Marlowe and I are talking about. That post-World War II liberal secularism, I would call it, is driven by a humanism that defines itself against Nazism. Whereas previous to that, the kind of secular liberalism, or I guess anti-church stuff, defined itself as a reaction to Christianity or a response to Christianity.
Yeah, it was like this. Prior to World War II, the argument that this guy's making, the common set of beliefs was that Jesus Christ as an ethical and moral figure could not be argued against. And there was, this notion, and during the Victorian era, you had this genre of novel that showed up in England that was essentially a secularized life of Jesus. And there was this notion that if you were against religion, the problem was the church failed on its own ethical basis, that the church, preached this idea of caring about other people, but was in fact quite oppressive to those people. And that was the argument for being secular or being atheist at the time. But there was this general presumption that the moral authority of Christianity was correct. And the problem was just Christians did not live up to that moral authority. Whereas after World War II, there was this general notion that the church completely failed during the Holocaust. They're talking about these like broad ethical notions of, premarital sex, purity, this, that, and the other thing. And all of a sudden the Holocaust happens and it's like, maybe you guys should have focused more on like not being cruel to others. And it was this like general idea that the old notions of the church were not really a moral center anymore. And so what is the new moral center? And that moral center is not being Nazis. Basically the argument this guy's making. It's interesting. And the The guy himself, I mentioned him to you, Bunny. It's Ryrie is his name, but he's this English professor who specializes in the history of Protestantism. He's got a bunch of lectures that I just landed on, and he's pretty fucking fascinating.
Then the questions are related to communism is how do we feel about state-sanctioned secular or state-sanctioned atheism, which was sort of the communist critique, I guess, of Christianity was to make the state religion be an absence of religion.
Well, that also came out during the French Revolution and stuff. And I think a lot of the thing that gets lost, especially on Americans and Anglosphere presuming Protestantism, is prior to the French Revolution, the Catholic Church was the largest landowner in France, and they weren't using that land for cemeteries. They were using that land to grow crops that they sold. The Catholic Church was, in fact, a giant fucking money-making enterprise, very openly. So opposition and secularism in those terms was, in fact, a opposition to this giant fucking corporation that exists.
And it still is. And it should still be viewed as that.
I would push back.
The Protestantism and the evangelism and the megachurch is a political enterprise. It's a political corporation that has gotten presidents elected.
I think that the degree of power has been just not even comparable to even the Russian Orthodox Church.
Well, I was going to just say the Russian Orthodox Church also being against them was a political position.
Right. The whole notion of anti-clericalism, it's not comparable to, man, Jerry Falwell is a reactionary asshole. I don't like listening to the shit he said. There's this kind of lost in translation idea of French Herbertists or even Bolshevik anti-clericalism, where the church as an entity, it was a very different thing than has ever existed in the United States.
If you became communist premier, would not support secularism.
No, I think enforced secularism has been the graveyard of many a revolution. And I think it's an unnecessary fight to pick. And I think that generally speaking, in America, it's more of a hobby or it's a cultural identifier more than an independent power base that is the largest holder of property in pre-revolutionary France, and that isn't subject to French law and basically can make its own rules and has huge tracts of land that's worked by serfs. I think the Catholic Church in pre-revolutionary France is more comparable to Walmart than Jerry Falwell, would be my general point. And when you look at anti-clericalism in the French Revolution, you need to look at it more as an opposition to a mega corporation than just this, oh yeah, there are a bunch of superstitious dummies who are anti-liberal.
Yes, certainly. The entire idea of think about how there was state-sanctioned religion in the pre-Christian Roman Empire as a means of
state-sanctioned religion?
Yeah, you had to agree that the emperor was divine, essentially. You could still do your other little things.
So long as you were willing to accept the emperor was a god, Rome was pretty okay with whatever you believed. The problem was the Jews could not fucking accept that the emperor was a god. It's literally the Jews and the Christians had this religion that had this very unique at the time problem, which is you can't consider the emperor to be a god. You're not any other religion.
Yeah, whereas previously, the thing is the new monotheisms have this, they exclude all competitive heresies. You can't, there's no syncretism or syncretic, whatever that word is. It's also something said about the way we learn about religion and philosophy in the quote-unquote West versus the quote unquote East is that in the West, it's very exclusive of each other. So if you are one religion, you're not another religion. If you're adhere to one philosophy, it's at the exclusion of another. Whereas in the non-Western world, it's completely normal to have a more mixture of different religious traditions and philosophies and beliefs.
Attach a religion to anything. Christianity is an exceedingly weird religion that just happens to be the hegemonic lens through which the West looks at all religions. And it's a very skewed lens.
Yes. I often think about like the little bit we know about the actual practice of paganism, pre-Christian religions in the Roman Empire, in ancient Greece, in Egypt. Like we actually have a very limited understanding of those things because one part is a lot of religious cults had a sort of you don't write this stuff down.
And the like idea that if you're just a regular believer, you're not expected or supposed to know what you believe in. Like, it just, in this, the metaphor I always use, and it's a somewhat tortured metaphor, is the room is dark, so you flip a light switch. You don't know what that light switch actually, how it makes the electricity go to your light or whatever. You just know that when you flip the light switch, the light comes on. If the light doesn't come on, then you do another ritual, like you try and replace the light bulb. Again, you might not know how a light bulb works. You just know replacing a light bulb will make an otherwise non-working light switch work suddenly. And if it still doesn't work, you call an electrician over to look at it who has knowledge you don't have. And that's how like a lot of religions work, is you don't need to know who God is or how any of this shit works. You need to remember a couple of prayers and rituals that you perform. And if that still doesn't work, you call a priest who has this knowledge and they'll handle it for you.
Yeah.
You're not there to know all that shit. It's Christianity, and especially Protestantism, that has this very strange belief that every believer is actually expected to understand this shit and like literally profess these beliefs.
It's very interesting because growing up Greek Orthodox, like there's a ton of things that I associate with being Greek and whatever that are technically like not sanctioned by the church because they are like folk magic, extra Christian beliefs. But you're not going to tell an old Greek lady shit about the evil eye, etc. Like that shit's real. It's the same as Jesus is real. And don't you guys go telling these old Greek ladies I'm talking about how Jesus is not real. There's definitely a few who still care about my immortal soul.
But yeah, no, check out this. He has this one video on the history of the Dutch Reformed Church in South Africa being the main like ideological driver of apartheid. That's super fucking fascinating if you don't know about that subject. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. He's like just this historian who like focuses on the history of Protestantism. How is it that England went from being extremely Catholic to then some king needed a divorce and all of a sudden they're the most anti-Catholic people on the planet? Like, how did that actually work out? And like all of a sudden every fucking English person is convinced that like the Pope is sending evil agents to like take their women away, whereas like 20 years prior they were all Catholic. Yeah, no, it's like odd shit like that where it's like, yeah, I never actually knew that, and it was always something I was interested in. Dutch Reformed Church is interesting as shit. Fucking Mandela, God bless Robert Mugabe. I'm just gonna say it. Mandela should have abolished the Dutch Reformed Church. He should have like started a cultural genocide of the Boer people. Yeah. Like literally the only good thing the English have ever done in history was throwing a bunch of white South Africans into camps.
Well, they're
yeah. Well, and the Afrikaans aren't even really Dutch. It's just called like they're like their own fucking horrible bastard thing. Meanwhile, the Dutch are like just the worst fucking people on the planet. Like it just. One, you call your country the Netherlands. Some people might accidentally call it Holland, and you angrily correct them and say, no, we're the nothing land.
The Netherlands. I will say the Dutch people of today do try to make up for it by being incredibly nice people. They're very polite.
They've low-level committed multiple genocides over the years. The Dutch East India Company was theirs.
Exactly. And it's like they know it.
Called the Dutch East India Company.
That bad guy, Cecil Rhodes, wasn't he a Dutchie?
Yeah, Rhodesia.
Isn't Dutchie it's a pejorative for a Pennsylvania judge?
They're thankfully not even that. They speak basically just German, but they have to make it their own shittier version. They've invented just the most depressing, oppressive form of Christianity that's ever existed. They live in fucking swamps. They also invented the stock market somehow. They're just the worst fucking people ever.
They used to
even
be
old
so
New
short,
York was once New Amsterdam. It fucking sucks.
And all the streets are named after their fucking people.
Yeah.
Vanderbilts, Van Wyck, anything with a van in front of it.
Yeah. All the
kills. Vanders, the Vans, the Van Burens.
In Staten Island and shit. They're singularly responsible for apartheid, finance capital, and again, the worst version of Christianity that's ever fucking existed.
I feel like we should do a real bracket situation.
I'll do it. Dutch Calvinism sucks ass.
We'll reverse engineer.
Yeah, no, Dutch Calvinism,
I guess. What is the second worst Christianity?
Yeah, well, okay. There's a whole fucking
Calvinism?
tier list of Calvinism alone, of which I would say South African Calvinism is the worst, and then Netherlands Calvinism is the second worst. Then you have the rest of Calvinism, which is all terrible.
What about a gradually enforced states where we phase out various religions by taking over their places of worship and re-educating them?
You got to understand that that's not going to work. People want to believe their own personal magic in their own fucking heads.
For replacing the Dutch Reformed Church in South Africa with Anglicanism just to piss them off.
Bunny, that's where the re-education comes in.
I don't know.
I'm clearly the most atheist and believe that religion is a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, I have some complex things that really come from a somewhat feminist angle, where I think historically women have a different relationship practically with religious belief, not with religious as a corporation or for an arm of the state, etc. But
Midwestern Lutheranism. Lutheranism from the Midwest is the second.
There you go.
It's their food is trash.
Yeah. I do think, though, the same way Marlowe's got some criticism of New Atheism, a lot of my criticism of New Atheism, it's not just that these individual men who are associated with New Atheism are misogynists, which they are, but it's that there's a facet of the binary that they impose onto religious belief that is inherently misogynist. I mean, that's why someone like Christopher Hitchens in the fucking 21st century wrote an essay about how women were fundamentally not funny, and we all acted like that was totally legit. Oh yeah, we should debate this for real. So that is an aspect that makes me uneasy with the idea of re-educating, because I don't trust typically the people who would propose such a thing. And I feel like there's an aspect of women's experience within cultures, within religions, that is somehow ignored and underserved. And there's something complex there. I don't think everybody views quote unquote religion the same way. And at least for me, in a real life sense, when Marianne Williamson was running for president, etc., I'm in the meme sphere out here. But I found a lot of people who identified as post-secular left, who were really sort of turned off by an overcommitment to secularism in a way where it was affecting how they view the politics. And I don't know. I think it's hard to put it all in one box, I guess. But for me, I'm very comfortable having been raised in the Greek Orthodox Church and like kind of being like a nerd about the church and its rituals and shit itself, but also feeling no literalist need to follow all the rules and maintain all the things. Like I still will call myself Greek Orthodox in a certain context.
I don't know. I view the post-secular spiritual movement equally as toxic as the new atheist movement.
If we're only talking about the sort of corporatist arm of it,
if we're talking like new age
very grifter
shit.
heavy, I think a lot of people find a lot of value that isn't necessarily that they're fucking idiots or they've been tricked in certain belief systems, rituals, philosophies, etc. And I don't see the value in essentially telling those people that experience is bullshit and you're a fucking idiot in any context where we're trying to like build towards something positive. That is part of my issue with it. I also, again, think it's very dichotomous. And in that, there is a gendered element where, on the one side, smart, secular, logical, science. On the other side, dumb, fools, manipulated. Like, it's just something that I don't think actually gets us to a real place. It just, like, foments, like, a fucking boring old binary where it's fomenting a superiority complex instead of actually like helping people be better or helping them get distance from belief systems that are actually materially harmful to them. But if somebody fucking believes in fairies and it doesn't do anything negative to their life, I don't see the value.
Well, see, I do
insisting
see the material
to the bitch who believes in fairies,
or the detrimental material effect to those aspects of society when it is used to justify an unquestioning or a lack of questioning of the things that harm them in the everyday.
Well, that's something that just as easily.
And I agree that they're both
science is also
and like the scientific rationality, which they obviously kind of posit through an Enlightenment philosophy, through Nietzsche to this Ubermenchian masculinity, is equally as clouding or maintaining their
abolish science and religion.
Yeah.
I mean, what I would abolish is the impulse to create a value hierarchy when we're talking about these things. What I see is sort of central to what gets in the way. Just going back to what we talked about earlier, just feeling the pressure to lie, to maintain some liberal fantasy is a similar thing where you're being forced into a narrative when is it useful? Or there's some assumption that somebody knows for sure what's definitely true about X. And like for like certain things, obviously we do know whatever information we need to know, we can determine what is quote unquote true. But the idea that there's like set it and forget it. Okay, it's not religion.
Which was the position
we'll just do all science now
of like post-Enlightenment thinkers.
Well, yeah, but it's still fomenting creating a hierarchical structure, which is where we get a swing from like religious hierarchical structure to considering social Darwinism and like considering the ideas of evolution, but then taking it to a degree where they're like, let's do all these like weird extra racisms where it's not about actually seeking out the truth. It's about creating a story that is making a group or an individual or whatever feel superior to others.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very Octavia Butler on this angle where I really zero in on unnecessary hierarchies. I've always been like incredibly like averse to them, very intolerant. It's why I've only been able to like work certain kinds of jobs before I get fired because I'm very intolerant of like, it's one thing if somebody's quote unquote in charge to keep things literally safe because they're the person who knows how to make the things safe. but I just have to respect an authority of a manager at Trader Joe's. By the way, Trader Joe's is fucking up.
Yeah, they are.
Makes sense. They're fucking up really bad. I believe I've said so on this podcast more than once that I worked at Trader Joe's back in the day, and I considered it one of the like better places to.
I mean, it probably still is.
Shitty kind of job like that.
Well, now you can join me in the previously having worked at grocery stores that now are union busting, work hating extractors of profit to the detriment of the safety of their workforce.
Well, yeah, and that's something that came out about that Trader Joe's issue. Right. They fired someone who sent a letter to the CEO, and he used this word kaizen, which is like a Japanese concept of like constantly, little by little, improving your efficiency as a business and as an individual worker. And they make you like watch all these videos and shit about it when you work at Trader Joe's. But like, I've at least had to learn like 3 or 4 different fucking bullshit frameworks like that to just work at some goddamn place like a grocery store. I worked at a hat store once and they made me read Who Moved the Cheese, which is a like business efficiency worker fucking bullshit kind of book. Yeah, man, it just sucks.
There's no good place to work.
There are no goodies.
Oh. Well, that's
they're all baddies.
Yeah, I also
it's
just
a fun note
realized
to end on. We're all the
thought
baddies.
Octavia Butler and Ursula Le Guin were the same fucking person this whole time.
For some reason, their work.
Yeah, because I was going to make like
easy to conflate
a lottery joke,
or mix up
but
in certain ways.
That wasn't her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, but Octavia Butler is like super in like every single piece of her work, just this like focus on like, why do people create these hierarchies? And yeah, I mean, I get why, because they benefit from them or they're comfortable with it. It's why people defend Elon Musk, even though Elon Musk will never be nice to them and they'll never be rich like Elon Musk. They want someone like Elon Musk winning. It makes them feel good inside.
Right.
They like the hierarchy. It's addictive. The only hierarchy on this podcast is that I am bright and beautiful and brilliant as the woman.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, we're all equal.
See ya.
Twist